To provide a quick historical overview of the location, the earliest inhabitants of the area that archaeology has found traces of were the Sumerians, who were expelled by the Scythians, Iranians, during the 7th century BC. The remaining Sumerians that took refuge in the mountains later became known as the Tauri. According to other historians, the Tauri were known for their savage rituals and piracy, and were also the earliest, indigenous inhabitants of the peninsula. In the 5th century BC, Greek colonists began to settle along the Black Sea coast, among them the Dorians from Heraclea, who founded a seaport of Chersonesos outside Sebastopol. It is near that city that one Vitalin Gok claimed to have discovered a pyramid in 1999. Go said that the pyramid was built during the time of the dinosaurs. Crimean pyramid has a truncated top, like a Mayan pyramid, but its appearance is more like an Egyptian. It is hollow inside, and a mummy of unknown creature is buried under the foundation. Under the foundation is a small body in the form of a mummy long 1.3 to 1.4 meters with a crown on his head. There is a resonance chamber of so-called Sphinx. The pyramids were built in the era of the dinosaurs, says the scientist in an interview with ICTV. It remains unknown who built the pyramid. The unique building is the oldest on the planet, says Vitaly Igo as reported by Becky. Reports also state that Gok helped located 37 other pyramids that exist on the Crimea Peninsula near Sebastopol, that are said to have been constructed 65 million years ago, suggesting that a previous civilization may have been wiped out by a massive meteor impact as scientists have always speculated. It has also been reported that the structures are giving off very specific frequencies, 3 of them. In fact, Warren reported back in July of 2006 in a piece titled Scientists to Dig Mysterious Pyramids in Sebastopol. We found extremely strong formation, which includes animal protein, gypsum, liquid glass, gravel. It is a man-caused pyramid, which radiates specific energy in certain periods, Vitaly Gok narrated. Ihor Kavinets, aide of the head of Sebastopol National University of Nuclear Energy and Industry, together with enthusiasts decided to confirm or refute the discovery. More than 20 commissions, including international ones, have visited the place recently. Then shockingly, Sunday it was reported by MSN via video, that a UFO was spotted over the Ukraine. Could this be the reason for the recent political and mass militarized mobilizations in and around the Crimea? Please comment.
Okay, it's me again, Sam Fisher, making another video. Say hello, Will.
Hello!
Right.
Dad.
What? Yeah, stop shouting, just say it normally.
My name is John Cena.
Apparently you're John Cena, I don't confuse. But anyway. Right, this video's back on track. Back to the task at hand. We're going to be talking about Ancient Man this time, and I hope you're doing your homework. If not, you're going to be lagging behind. Hands up, who's done it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 at the back. Yeah, I can count on you lot at the back, can't I? Okay, right. Now, when we're talking about Ancient Man, first question we need to ask is, when did mankind start? Or when did mankind, as we know it, as it does, first appear on this planet?
We're here.
Now,
It's South Park.
It's not South Park.
Yeah, it is
Now,
South Park.
That's a matter of debate still. If you ask anyone in academia, they'll say civilization as we know it started about 6,000 years ago. And mankind, or modern humans, appeared something around, maybe around 200 to 400,000 years ago. The thing is though, there's a lot of evidence to refute that, to refute the academic claim. First of which is, I don't know if any of you have heard of a guy called Michael Cremont.
Come on it.
I highly recommend watching and reading any of his stuff. He wrote a book many years ago called Forbidden Archaeology. It's a 900-page sort of monster, but it is absolutely fascinating. He's done plenty of YouTube videos, lectures, plenty of videos of his lectures. He's lectured all over the world. There was even a TV series many moons ago, before Ancient Aliens was even a twinkle in the producer's eye. He did a TV series on it that was actually almost blocked from being aired when the academic community were trying to stop it from being aired, and even went to court for it. Luckily, it never did, and it still made its way in a slightly watered down form to television. Now, Michael Cremo went round with I think it was an archaeology professor or a history professor, whose name absolutely escapes me at the moment, and they basically went round to museums and asked them if they could look through their artefacts that they have in the back rooms and the storerooms and forgotten things. And the stuff that they found was incredible. And it makes you wonder why these things weren't on display. You see, what?
Can we go that way?
No, we're not going that way. We're going this way. Stick to the path. Yeah. Now, these
I'm the lizard.
artifacts that they started finding started bringing a lot of things into question. Namely, how old exactly is mankind, or humankind? You see, the first thing they found was some machined spheres, balls, and you could tell they were machined because they were perfectly spherical, made of iron, or an iron alloy. These things had 3 grooves that surrounded the sphere all the way around the diameter of it, and with a little indent in the top. So it was obvious these had been machined by someone. The only problem was these were found in rock strata that was 4 billion years old. 4 billion? The next thing they found was some oblong tubing, perfectly formed, shaped, obviously machine made. It was found in rock strata 2 billion years old. 2 billion? You know what's going on? We then have a hammer that was it's about 250 million years old, found in rock 250 million years old, where the handle, the wooden handle on the hammer, was coalified. It's begun to turn to coal. What? Well, you can go that way if you want. I'm sticking to the path because I've got wellies on. The only way it can turn to coal, one, is if it's very old. For a start, it's got to be extremely old. 2, it is high pressure and high heat. The only way that could have been formed was basically, it basically lived up to the age that it was. There was another unusual thing about this hammer. It was 97% iron, 3%, I think it was 2% nickel, 1% chlorine. Chlorine in our day and age is impossible to turn into a metal. Literally impossible. We've no idea how they did it. Yeah, here's a hammer that is made with technology far beyond what we can think. 1% chlorine. It's like, what? And it's incredibly strong. It survived the test of time. Like I said, 250 million years old. There's been quite a few things, odd little things here and there, that have been discovered all over the place. a completely anatomically correct modern human skull cap that was discovered in Britain. That's also 200 million years old. That should be around. Okay, you're using my hand. You found a footprint, fossilised footprint, human footprint.
Come on, Dad.
Wearing a sandal.
Left.
A sandal footprint. Or some sort of shoe anyway. 200 to 300 million years old.
Dad, that's the exit.
To say that our idea of when the human race, as we know it, as us, started on this planet, is misguided, is an understatement. Literally an understatement. Well, if we're going this way, we're not going down to the park that way. Yeah, we're going this way, are we? Okay. We'll go a different way. Like I said, it's a little misguided. See, these things have been tested and tested and tested and tested and proven to be right, proven to be real. There's no way they can be hoaxed, because there's no way someone can go all the way down into rock that deep,
Solid.
place them there, and then fill it all back up.
Say, walk solid.
It's just ridiculous. This is what some archaeologists try and pawn us off with. I mean, come on, guys. The evidence is there, slapping you right in the face. Wake up. You've got Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. It was deliberately buried, although I'm a bit dubious about whether it was deliberately buried. I'll come to that in a moment. But the vegetation that's in that soil that it was covered with,
Daddy,
well, yeah, no, go down that way then. Dates it to around, well, dates to when it was buried at 11,000 years old. Now, archaeologists and historians are trying to say that it was hunter-gatherers that made this unbelievably vast complex. They've only actually uncovered not even 10% of it. And it's huge T-shaped monoliths depicting all sorts, depicting animals that they should have no knowledge of at all. Yet they're there. You know, it's an unbelievable sight, but it's well over 11,000 years old. Civilization started a lot sooner, and the evidence is mounting. It really is. Other examples: Yonaguni. Again, it's underwater. All right, fair enough. Yeah, but the amount of anomalies that are on it, it can't be done by natural means. It really can't. I advise, I'm not going to go into Yonaguni because that's another subject. It's another time for another subject. Same with Göbekli Tepe. I'm just giving you a few examples. If you want to learn more, go and have a look. Go and look them up on the internet. I will do videos on them soon, but I'm just going to try and get through ancient man as we know it so far. All right. But if you want to know more, leave a comment. If you want to know more, leave a comment. And any subjects you want me to go and look into or talk about. No, well, we're going to go down this way. Then please leave a comment, and I'll get onto it. If I don't know anything about it, it may take me a little while, and I'll admit I don't know anything about it. For someone I know about, it may be already in the works. Anyway, back to what I'm saying. I'm going off tangent again. Right. So yeah, we have all these ancient sites everywhere. Now, I think it was in 2011, the video that I played at the beginning of this, that pyramid in the Ukraine, there isn't just one. There is, in fact, I think it's either 5 or 7 that go off into the Black Sea off the coast and round from where that one pyramid is. I mean, again, these things are 65 million years old. Well, under rock, they're 65 million years old. That story you probably never heard of before. I mean, I accidentally stumbled across it a few years ago, and there wasn't any fanfare about it. There wasn't any sort of big fuss about it. But it turned out to be real. What made it more real was President Putin's behaviour when he annexed Crimea. Normally, the military strategy when you go into a country, when you want to cordon off somewhere, is to protect the border. You send most of your troops to the border before you do anything. Then you protect the fuel pipes that go into that. So oil pipes, gas lines, anything like that. Anything that helps infrastructure, you put guard posts. Most of your armies around those. Standard military practice. Putin didn't do that. As soon as he annexed Crimea, the first place that he ran to, woof, straight away, Will, don't do that, was that site where that pyramid is. And he put his largest force and his most experienced veteran soldiers, Spetsnaz, you name it, around that area. Formed it off. Now that makes you think, doesn't it? What did he know? Yeah, whatever. There's something underneath that pyramid. It's already been stated that they know there's a body under there. They know it's extremely tall. They're also pretty sure it's not human. What the hell is it? I don't know if any of you have heard of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, or as he's also known as in Greek and Roman mythology, Hermes Trismegistus, which means Hermes thrice born, or born 3 times. Thoth was an Atlantean priest, an amazing Atlantean priest. He goes into his life story in the Emerald Tablets.
Wait,
Not,
absolutely great, Dad.
oh well, no, what a shame.
Where?
Aye, these things are incredibly made. You won't hear much about them. Don't get them mixed up with the Emerald Tablet. That is something completely separate. A completely separate kettle of fish that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, go on then, we're going that way. That doesn't exist anymore. And it's what most people mix up for the Emerald Tablets. The Emerald Tablets used to be in the Great Pyramid of Giza, guarded by a select order of priests that were generations and generations old. When Thoth actually arrived at Atlantis, at Egypt, sorry, it was at the fall. What? Yeah, it was when Atlantis fell. We're not doomed, come on, down this way. It was when Atlantis fell. And he goes into great detail about how he raised up the population there and taught them writing and civilization, basically, and created the Great Pyramids. No, we're not going down there, it's too dangerous. Built the Great Pyramids to cover the entrance to a place called, what he called Amenti, which was underneath the ground at this time. There's a lot of what he said that appears in my book, and I'd never even heard of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. A lot of you probably haven't even heard of them either. That's because it's one of the most suppressed subjects you can find anywhere. Isaac Newton was one of the people that actually translated them back in the 1600s, 1700s, sorry. There's been many different, very well-known scholars that have had a crack at translating them. All of them have got pretty far, but all of them have been very worried about what they read. Anyway, Amenti is a, how can I put it? It's kind of a city of the dead, in a way. It's where a being that he called the Dweller resides. Now, Thoth was very well schooled in astral travel, magic, alchemy. In fact, he's known by many as the father of alchemy, the father of magic, and the mystery schools, the Egyptian mystery schools. That's why a lot of people who begin to look into alchemy and stuff call it Hermeticism, because of Hermes' name, or what he called Hermes. Now, Thoth had a habit of living for thousands of years, and then all of a sudden thinking, okay, I feel like dying for a bit, but I will come back and reincarnate in another body. Boom. And he'd pass away quite happily and appear thousands of years later, knowing exactly who he was, where he'd come from, and what he had to do. Aye, go on, keep going. He'd also changed his name a lot. But he was basically immortal and worshipped as a god. We're going this way to get on. Worshipped as a god. He was the Egyptian god of writing, wisdom, alchemy, medicine, so many things. Much like Imhotep. What? Come on, keep going. But no one knows where his tomb is. But anyway, there was a lot of talk that basically that all this was just a myth. Even though what the story of Thoth was written on, these emerald tablets are completely indestructible. They are what are known as atomically fixed. As in, they can't be broken, they can't be burnt, they can't be scratched, they can't be, they don't, you have to excuse me, I'm sort of balancing here as well as trying to make a video. But they can't actually be, they don't degrade or anything. The material they're made out of is completely unknown. Completely unknown. And they're one of those things that bizarrely and inexplicably disappeared sometime in the 1800s, maybe 1900s, but no one knows where they are. There's a legend that says that maybe they've been taken back and hidden because the last tablet was forbidden. It was forbidden to actually translate the last tablet until it was time. And that's the 13th one. And it's been hypothesised that maybe the priest took it back until that time. Anyway, so yeah, that's Thoth. Now, he describes how, like I said, how Atlantis disappeared and everything else. And fantastic sort of stories of where these halls of Amenti are. Like I said, the Great Pyramid of Giza is meant to be built over the top of the entrance. Funnily enough, I think it was 2014, 2015, there was a survey done of the surrounding desert of Egypt, or especially more specifically around Giza, using LiDAR. I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but it's kind of like radar, but they use lasers that penetrate the ground and can detect far more than normal radar. It's more than ground penetrating radar, and it's done from space, done from the upper atmosphere using satellites. What they found was astonishing. They found an area about 20-30 miles square, consisting of three levels, 3 floors, deep under the ground and under the sand, near to Giza. It's just full of tunnels and chambers and all sorts everywhere. Yet the Egyptian government, or more specifically Zahi Hawass, who I don't call a professor, the guy is, I'll get into Zahi Hawass another time, I really will, but to say he's a paid off thief, bandit and shill and downright liar is an understatement. But anyway, the Egyptian Antiquities Board, or Commission, that he's head of, won't let anyone investigate the area in any way, shape or form, which is disgusting. But it's not to say it hasn't been explored before. There's countless historical accounts that people have just, well, people, when I say people, I mean academics, that have just dismissed as fanciful stories, basically, and baseless. When they did that LiDAR scan, it just proved them all entirely. There was a Persian sheikh whose name I cannot for the life of me remember, in the 1500s. Well, we'll go this way. Yeah, go this way. That described going into finding these tunnels through an entranceway near the Great Pyramid. Not actually in the Great Pyramid, but near the Great Pyramid, and near the Sphinx. Going into these tunnels and coming up against huge, what can only be described as mechanical statues that attacked them, and he barely got out with his life. Traps, all sorts, that are just unbelievable. Doors going to nowhere. He didn't really get very far, like I said, but he actually got in there. There's also, now this will blag some people. Some of you will have heard of Robert Verval and Graham Hancock et al. They have a theory that the Giza Plateau is actually based on the Orion's Belt. It's an okay idea, but when you actually map Orion's Belt onto the stars of Orion's Belt onto the Giza pyramids, the actual last this side that's normally a little bit lower down doesn't quite match up. It's a close match, but doesn't quite match up. If you go by another Egyptian and ancient history scholar, a man called Michael Collins, he has a theory. He has a theory that it's actually based on the Cygnus constellation, the whole of the Giza pyramid, the whole of the Giza plateau, not just the three pyramids, but the whole of the Giza plateau. Both of them have the dates. I've come to the same conclusion about the date of when this was built, around 11,500 years ago. But if you take there's a tomb called the Tomb of the Birds, which is down to the south, which lies perfectly on the bottom end of it lies perfectly on the bottom of the Cygnus, the last star on the Cygnus constellation down here. The two winged stars are at two different temples whose name I can't remember. There's also another temple to the north that matches up perfectly with the Cygnus constellation. Will, stop shouting! And then where the central star is, there's also three stars that come out round to the side of this central star, and they actually match up perfectly with the Giza stars and the central one. Now, what makes this even weirder? Göbekli Tepe also has a lot to do with the Cygnus constellation. Various different cultures around the world have pointed out the Cygnus constellation for some reason. Now this is where it gets freaky, because I think it was late 2016, 2017. What, Will?
We'll be stuck here forever.
We'll not be stuck here forever. Well, just got it. In late 2016, early 2017, some news came out that some NASA astronomers have found a very unusual star. It's called KIC 24976, I think it is, or KIC for short. This has very unusual sort of characteristics. It was found by the Kepler Space Telescope. It was actually done by a few amateur astronomy buffs that were using their well, just looking through the pictures on the website. NASA had asked for just basically people to check out the data because they didn't really have the manpower, so they asked the public. Anyway, I digress. So this normally when looking for a planet or looking for exoplanets, basically planets in other solar systems, you look for a dip in a star's brightness. That any planet that's about Jupiter size would create a 1% dip in brightness, 1% dip in brightness. But this star was having a between 25 and 40% dip in brightness. Now they had millions and millions of different theories.
Daddy?
What?
We'll be stuck here forever.
Oh dear.
Dad,
Okay.
it's
All of
just
them
me and you, Dad.
pretty implausible a lot of the time,
It's just me and my
and
dad. Just
weren't really warranted, and they couldn't get them to work. All of them natural. Basically, it was a natural thing. Dust clouds, all sorts, but the gravity calculations just didn't work. So I thought of comets, but comets don't get that size. Blah de blah de blah. And eventually, they could only come up with one conclusion. It very likely could be a Dyson sphere. What is a Dyson sphere, here you ask? Well, it's an idea that a professor called Dyson, funnily enough, came up with for generating lots of energy, or a way a Type 2 civilization, as it's known, would harness the power of a sun. What they would do was place panels around a sun, huge panels around a star, and what that would do was basically collect the protons and electrons and all sorts of stuff. A bit like solar panels, but space solar panels, but on a huge scale that would surround a sun. And when there was flares or anything like that, or solar flares or filaments or anything like that, boom, they'd expand it so it'd catch as much of this cosmic energy as it could, and it would generate huge amounts of power for them. This has actually been proven to be quite a viable thing if you've got the technology. It's also the only reason they could really come up with for this star, this KIC star. Now, this star just so happens to be in the Cygnus system, in the northernmost quadrant of the Cygnus system. And that raised a flag for me a bit. Another thing as well, I don't know if you've heard of TRAPPIST, the TRAPPIST system. Well, okay, I'll rub your tummy. I don't know if you've heard of the TRAPPIST system. This was another thing that was released by NASA around the same time, about a dwarf star with 7 Earth-like looking planets. They hypothesised that it was Earth-like. This TRAPPIST system, funnily enough, just so happened to be inside, you guessed it, the Cygnus system, the Cygnus constellation. See, I think the reason why they were telling us or trying to show us Cygnus so much was for one reason only. This is where the gods came from. This is where the gods reside. This is where our creators came from. Not Orion. Far from it. Cygnus.
Oh, that's math.
Anyway, I think that's enough for one day. We'll continue Ancient Man next time as well. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you some more homework, again as usual. I always do, you know what I mean? This time, those that didn't do it, get it done. Okay, so this time, again, check out Michael Challenger. Like I said before, any of his stuff, blinding, it's a gold mine, it really is. Not only Michael Challenger, but look up Michael Collins. Look at his work on not just the Cygnus system and Göbekli Tepe, but also the Tomb of the Birds. that is fascinating. What he found there is just unbelievable, and something else you do not hear a lot about. Alongside that, also, because I featured him last week, and I'm probably going to go into him a little bit more again next time, is Jordan Maxwell. And the reason why, I'll tell you next week. But anyway, as it is, I think this is long enough, and I'll see you all again. See you later, guys. Don't forget, do your homework. Bye bye.